So basically tonight I wanted to review the store, part 3 of the store demo and development, kind of go through the progress that's been made so far. The store is looking pretty good. I mean, there's still features that would be nice to have, but probably aren't going to show up in the early alpha. The store's functional, so we'll go through a demo and then I'll go under the hood on how it works. And then tonight I think I'm going to work on developing kind of like a character sheet. So basically get to view your current stats, get to view your equipment, basically share some of the equipment screen from the battle, and also be able to level up. So when you kill stuff, complete quests, you'll be able to level up and gain abilities. So there's a good bit of work behind that, but we'll probably get started with kind of a base and some real rough scenes. But let me show you the demo of the store first. Alright, so basically right here we have our game. Start our game, go into our town, so we can walk around our town. If we go to the dialogue, we can actually anywhere to buy things. You can buy and sell the blacksmith. He's right down the way. Here's some money and conversation. So she gave us 1,000 gold and a longsword. So we can use that to buy stuff and trade. So if we go to the blacksmith, you can see here he has a dagger for sale and also a great helm for sale. I already have a longsword. It's better than the dagger. So one thing would be a nice feature to have would be item comparison. You mouse over an item and it compares what your current item is that's equipped. That's something, probably going to be after the alpha, just because that's a decent bit of work with the mouse over and the comparison and stuff, but definitely a feature I'm interested in having. Let's buy the great helm. So we leave there. So one thing right now is every time you go to the blacksmith, he's going to have a new item list. So right now we go back and now he has longsword, dagger, and leather cap. Let's just buy another longsword, so now we have 2. And so this is another feature in the store, is you can have stacks and you can sell multiple items. So if I have 2, if I sell 1, I'm back down to 1, and you can see here it adds to the store again. So that's kind of it. If you pause here, you can see we have the great helm and the longsword now, and if we went and fought, we can actually use those items. Let's go back one more time. So now we have a decent bit more items. Let's buy the chainmail. And you can see here now that we only have 200 gold. These items are too expensive, so they turn red, and we're not able to buy them. So that's pretty cool. So it's pretty much the store. It's going to be functional. You'll be able to buy and sell items, and it works, right? That's what we need for alpha, just stuff that works. Bare bones, working game, minimum viable product. So let me show you how it kind of works under the hood. So we kind of did the development earlier from the ground up. Basically, the base floor is basically all the items in the game have a price as one of their field attributes. So if we go to our data, you can see here in our data, for instance, if we go to weapons, you can see here this last column here is the price. So flaming battle axe is 1,500, right? Dragon claw is 10,000, right? So everything has a price. And then from there we have our actual store tree. And the store tree is basically where the individual store information is recorded. So the blacksmith, here's his store. This is basically all that defines his store. So basically here's the metadata, then we have 3 different item types for sale. We have cheap weapons, we have this battle axe, and then we have some armor, right? So the cheap weapons are defined right here. They're item class of weapon, and they're everything 200 gold and below. And these are the different prices. So the sell percentage, the buy percentage, and the count he would have of each item. There's the battle axe, and here's the armor. Right, so the key in the store tree, there's 2 main functions that we have that are pretty key, right? One of them is getting the buy price. So say if the player has an item, how much can he sell it for to the store, right? So how do you calculate that? So what we do is we pass in the item the player wants to sell, right here, and then we look it up in our tree node dictionary to see if we have a listing that matches that item, right? So right here we're going to loop through all the branches that are applicable, right? So they have to match the quest flags. And then we're going to compare, right? So if the node type matches and it's an index, so if it's the exact same item right here, right? Basically we're going to add the buy price to our buy price, right? So this is just kind of basically iterating through and finding the best buy price, right? So if it's greater, make it the buy price. So we start at 0 and we add it here. For a class type weapon, basically, if the type matches, so item type is, you know, weapon, armor, potion, things like that, and the price is less than or equal to the link index, right? So that means that the item is within our range of the item class. Then same thing, you're going to increment the buy price. So the default buy price is 0.5, which means half price. So nothing is going to be cheaper than half price. So you'll never like sell a super flaming golden axe for 1 gold. It will always be a decent sell price. And then basically you return the rounded up multiplied value. So that's how you get a buy price for all our sell items. And you can see when we were in the game, basically the longsword, you could buy it for 110, but you could only sell it for 60. So that's how you get the buy price, right? So if we go here, how do I buy things? We go to the blacksmith. We have a longsword, we can sell it for 60, but we can buy it for 110. So the other part of it is the sell list. So how do you get a sell list? And you can see that that sell list was randomly generated each time we went to the store, right? So this sell list, basically what this does is we do have a random, so there's some random there. Basically same thing, we get all our relevant branches. So if we go to the store, right here we weren't getting the battle axe because we hadn't started the quest yet. So we're only doing armor and cheap weapons. Right, so then we're going to iterate through those branches and we're going to say, if it's an item class, then you're going to add everything from this helper here, get sell item list type. And if it's an actual index, then just add that individual item to the sell list. Right, and we look it up from our master item dictionaries. So how do you get items of type? So this is actually kind of, there was a little bit more logic to this. So basically that's this method here, get sell item type list. So first of all you have the type. So the type is going to be a switch statement based on the type. So weapons, ammo, armor, potions, thrown in one. So basically what you're going to do is there's this link statement right here is what's going to grab it for you. So we're going to the weapon dictionary and we're going to grab items that are below our rarity index and we're going to select the keys, right? So we're just going to get the key, we only care about the IDs. Then we're going to order them randomly and then grab a handful of them. So we're going to only grab a random count. So the item count is right now basically 1 through 10. So that's how it works. You're basically going to get all the items in the dictionary that match your type and rarity, and then you're going to randomly sort them around and then grab a handful of them. You know, ammo has its own list, similar thing, armor its own list. Potions, thrown, and wand, you can see here these are usable items, but we're going to go a step further and we're going to make sure that the value type equals our item type. Right, so the usable items that's kind of a catch-all of a bunch of different items. You know, you could have potions in there, you could have food that you could eat, you could have a wand, obviously, you could have something like a grenade, which is a thrown, all sorts of random stuff. You might even have craftable items, things like that. So this is going a step further, narrowing it down so you can have, like a potion merchant, or a wand merchant, things like that. And basically, how do you get the individual items given a list of IDs? We can retrieve them from our item factory right here, just based on the ID. And then if it's not price zero is kind of a hack right now to show that it's like not an item you can buy. So that's like your bare hands, the wolf claw, things like that they have to be in the master weapon list, but they aren't really something a player would want to buy, right? So they're kind of a special case, and that's price of 0, or even a negative number would be something that you wouldn't buy, right? So as long as it's a legitimate item, you're going to get the item, and then you're going to calculate the price. So you just multiply the price by the adjustment, and then you're going to start out with 1. So that gives us our list of items we have, right? So let's go over to the UI side, the controller. So basically, let's go to Unity here, and look at the store. So store scene, obviously you have two panels here for the buy list and sell list, and obviously these could be scrollable lists. Right now they're just kind of a static panel list. So you have a limited number of items you can have. You could have a scrollable list with a lot more items in them. And then we have our prefab, right? Prefab is the actual listing of the item, right? So this is our prefab here. So basically, you're going to have an image, which is kind of the sprite image of the item. Name, stats. You have a buy button. You have the price. You have a count, which is right here, 1 of 1, and then you have these buttons for less and more. So these are if you have stackable items. You have more than one, you can add or subtract them. So that's our prefab. So how's it wired up? All right, so basically what you do is when you start a store, when you start the scene, basically you're going to load all your data, right? And then you're going to, you load the store tree. And then you're going to load 2 lists, right? So these are kind of temporary lists of an object called store item. So this was a class that I created just specifically for stores to hold items, right? So what does this object look like? So it just has a price, an item, a count, and selected. So price is obviously the price. The item is a reference to the whole item object that we can use to get the stats and whatnot. Count is how many there are total, and selected are when you say, oh, I want to buy only 2 of 3 or 1 of 10. That's what selected is. So this is kind of a helper object. It's almost like you could consider it a view model, something like that, just for the view to use. So basically we have 2 lists. We have one for the store and one for the player, right? So the way you populate those is the store obviously gets it from the store tree, and that method we showed you to get the list of sellable items. And the player basically gets it from his inventory. And the main thing we have to do is in the player inventory, everything's just thrown in there. They're not stacked. So like if you have 20 arrows, there's 20 individual items in the inventory of arrows. So basically we have to stack them together doing this, right? We can do a group by the ID, and then you just grab the first in the group. So that just basically gets it distinct from the group. Then you iterate through and you create a store item for each of those items from the inventory. So obviously the item's the same. The price is going to be calculated from that method we showed in the store tree, get buy price. And then the count, we also do some link to just get how many there are in the player's inventory, right? And selected starts out as 1. So there's our 2 lists. You have the player list, you have the store list. So basically every time when the scene loads or you buy or sell something, you're going to update the display. So updating the display, this is just some like helper text stuff, doesn't really matter. But you can update the store, update the player inventory. And then you're also going to update the player's gold. So money, that was another thing I changed, was money is now in its own field in the player characters object. So money is just a long, so it sits out separate as opposed to being an item. So what do we do? What happens when we buy an item, right? So basically, when you click on the buy item button, you're going to pass an ID. So the ID is going to reference the store item. You're going to find the store item from the store item list. You're going to figure out the cost. Make sure we can afford it, right? Make sure the player has enough money. If so, you're going to add the item to the player's inventory. Right here, game data object add item. You're going to remove the money from the player's inventory. And then you also need to add and remove that from the view model lists on the screen. So you have to add it to the player item list and remove it from the store item list right here. So these helpers are here. And then finally you update the display. Sell item is basically the exact same thing in reverse from the store. Obviously, the store, we're not giving the store money. So there's no limit on how much a store can buy, which is what sell item is. You're selling an item to the store, so the store will just buy infinite inventory. You can offload all your gear. It'd be pretty easy to add a limit on that, though. It'd be trivial. So the only other complicated part is basically wiring up the counts. So like when you click on I want to buy less or buy more, how does that happen? So that's this wiring here, item selected change. It's kind of an ugly method. Basically that's wired up to these buttons here, both of these buttons here, less or greater. Right? So if you're clicking more, it's going to be is more is true. If it's on the store, it's going to be is store is true, and then you also have the item ID. Right, so what do? If it's a store, we have to find what item it is. Then we have to find the index and the item index. And then basically we're going to update the UI. We're going to update that actual prefab store item with the count. Right. Or actually, this is just getting a reference to it. So this is just grabbing the references to these things here. Same thing with the player. So basically what we do here is, here's where we actually increment it. We say item selected plus plus, item selected minus minus. So the thing is, this is actually changing the store item object itself when you do this, right? So this points to the object that's being held in either the player item list or the store item list. All right, and this is just so you can't add more than you have and you can't go below 0. And then lastly, as long as we have a reference to the text, we're going to update the text. So you're going to say, oh, I have 1 of 3, add 1, go 2 of 3. The price gets reflected, so the new price is selected by price. Right, so if the price is 500, you add an extra 1, it's going to go to 1,000. So you update the price. And then obviously we're just changing the color to red if it's on the store and it's costs more than the player's money. So that's pretty much it. There was one gotcha. Basically, when you move, when you click buy and you buy an item from the store and add it to the player's inventory, before what I was doing was I was moving the actual store item, which is kind of your view model object, from the store to the player's list. And the problem with that is if you weren't removing it from the list, like you were just changing the counts, basically that object would live on both lists. So then if you hit plus, it would do plus on both, and if you did buy, basically what would happen would be a really weird bug, and the items would get duplicated when you bought and sold, so you'd end up with, it would do like 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and then just explode just because it was being duplicated. So the key was you had to make a copy. This is copying the object instead of sending the actual exact object over to the other list. So that's pretty much it. I didn't work on it that many hours. 3 quick sessions of just hacking away on it, and it's a functional store. Um, Pretty much with all the features that we wanted originally. We wanted to have different prices from different vendors. Vendors only selling certain types of items. Random items as for certain times your game progresses, so it's tied into the quest tree, quests unlocking certain items. So the item list contains base prices. Vendors buy and sell at a percentage of that price. And you can have either explicit items or sets, item sets. Merchant has no limit on buying. We have stacks of items you can have right here. And he doesn't sell quest items or items of price 0. And we don't currently have the item comparison, right? So that's one thing we still want to do. Another thing that would be a nice feature is basically if a vendor sold a lot of different stuff, just he sold everything, you could click a button to narrow it down for weapons, armor, potions, whatnot. So a lot of RPGs do that. You can go to different tabs of the store. So that'd be another nice feature. Those are two features that aren't that difficult, but they're a little tedious. A lot of kind of tweaking with the UIs and stuff, which we're not really going to do for the alpha. Down the line, definitely, as we add polish to the game. But right now, the goal for alpha is to have something playable, a playable RPG. All the core features of an RPG. So that's pretty much it for the store. I'm going to all the code's committed. It's in the dev branch now. And you can play around with it. The cool thing is, we can easily make stores now, right? So just a few lines in a script, and you have a full store, right? So there's no real coding needed anymore to add any sort of store in the game, and so that's the real benefit of this system, right? Is you can add, once the systems are in place, you can add content very, very easily, right? Just typing out some text.